It's Scott Carlos at Stansberry Research. I'm here at the 2019 Alliance Conference in Las Vegas. I'm here with George Gilder, American investor, author of 20 books, and the founder of the Discovery Institute. George, thanks for being here.
Well, great to be here.
It is.
Vamping in Vegas with Porter Stansberry. That's pretty exciting.
Exactly. So a couple questions for you. On your presentation, you spoke a bit about China and its growing importance in the global economy. Why do you think the typical American is so wrong about what's really happening in China?
I think they haven't been there, a lot of them, or they're very involved with particular companies that may have had bad experiences in China. But you go there and you see that we are no longer the leaders in world technology. It just is the case. The idea that China's successes all come from stealing from us is just delusional. They've moved ahead. They got millions more engineers than we do. They train their people in engineering rather than in climate change and gender studies, and they thus have a population that's completely oriented toward production, manufacturing, innovation, entrepreneurship, and it's having its effect. And it's like after the Second World War when the British had lost their empire and recognized that they could no longer be the leader in the world economy, that they would have to collaborate with the U.S. and have a special relationship with the U.S. And we had a special relationship with China. Their whole economy was oriented toward ours and imitating Silicon Valley and manufacturing for us and enabling us to have the four most valuable companies in the face of the earth, all manufacturing in China. And somehow, while our companies made 60% margins, they were making 5% margins, and we claim that they're exploiting us. It's really a bizarre misconception of what's going on.
Interesting. Just because the way it's portrayed in the media is very much the opposite of a lot of the things you were just speaking about.
I know, it's bizarre. I really think it's bizarre. I mean, I think it's an expression of our loss of our understanding of technology. We no longer can really grasp what another country is doing, or what a supply chain is, a global supply chain of intimately interconnected technologies all working together, and we imagine that can be just ripped apart and put back together, and I think it's vandalistic.
Interesting. So you also stated that we've seen huge deflation since 1980 when you consider time is money. Do you expect that to change anytime soon?
No, I think that deflation may not be the right word. You know, it's increased abundance, increased value, increased productivity, increased innovation. In other words, an hour of work produces much more buying power than it did in previous times. And this is really the way to measure value. It's not by some guesswork of consumer price indices minus volatile elements like energy and food, or all the various estimates of inflation are, I think, bizarrely wrong when you consider the key factor, which is how many hours do you gotta work to buy something? And all the numbers are aligned. Things that took us 30 hours of a blue-collar worker, 30 hours of work to buy in 1980, now take less than 10 minutes, and going down steadily. And it's the real measure of progress in the world economy, the number of hours and minutes it takes to earn the money to buy something.
It almost sounds like there's something thematic in your last two answers. It just, things are dated a little bit. Concepts are dated. In the first answer you're speaking about, and what you're talking about is sort of gauges that people they use to measure things are sort of dated, and they could use a refresh.
That's right. They sure could.
And then my next question would be, in your book, Life After Google, you discuss why some of the tech giants' flawed business models of today may not allow them to survive. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think companies like Google and Facebook and that collect almost all their revenues from advertising and don't have any real liabilities to their customers, no real responsibilities to their customers. They aggregate viewers and sell advertisements and ads that we all know are actually minuses. People don't really want to see their ads, particularly on their smartphones, where pop-up ads of various kinds comprise 36% of bandwidth costs for your smartphone, and you only intentionally click on one of the ads 0.03% of the time. I mean, it's a failing model, and it's worth recognizing that all the Chinese companies that are really competing with our companies, with 3 times the population, and have get 10% or something of their revenues from advertising. They really have figured out how to collect money from customers.
Interesting.
And that's their advantage, and we better be alert to this.
So again, thematically, it sounds like these companies are starting to become dated. They're not refreshing. They're not keeping up.
I think their free model is debauching them. Free is not capitalism.
Yeah.
They don't know how to really deal with customers, and whenever they actually have to make a decision, they decide in the end, it's easier just to give it away for free and collect more data and sell it to advertisers. And this model is reaching the end of the line, and we're moving into life after Google, which gets 95% of their revenues until recently from advertising.
Very interesting. Okay, and then the last question I had for you: what's one change that you think we'll see 20 years from now that most people wouldn't expect?
I think that we're going to have a real global money again, that whether it's gold or digital gold, it'll be the triumph of the cryptocosm, and that we will discover that a lot of these international conflicts are fundamentally the result of flawed technologies with no security, like the internet protocols have no security. And the rise of what I call the cryptocosm, that is based on a mutable ground state for the network and a mutable ground state for the global economy. Real money again, based on time, which is what remains scarce when everything else grows abundant. Much of the world, the central banks of the world and the governments of the world are rebelling against time, and thus are muddling this crucial measuring stick that guides all enterprise.
Very interesting stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.